Maria stepped out of her 15-year-old Honda Civic and immediately noticed the sideways glances from her coworkers in the company parking lot. The car's faded blue paint had seen better days, and the small dent on the passenger door told stories of tight budgets and careful spending. She grabbed her worn leather briefcase from the back seat and walked toward the gleaming glass building where she worked as a junior marketing coordinator. The advertising agency where Maria worked was filled with ambitious young professionals who drove sleek sedans and luxury SUVs. Her supervisor, Jonathan Mitchell, was particularly fond of showing off his brand new BMW, often making sure everyone knew about its premium features and impressive price tag. He had a way of looking down on people, especially those who didn't match his idea of success. As Maria walked through the office that morning, she overheard Jonathan talking loudly near the coffee machine. He was surrounded by a small group of colleagues, gesturing dramatically as he spoke about weekend plans and expensive restaurants. Maria tried to slip past unnoticed, but Jonathan's voice seemed to follow her. "I just don't understand how some people can drive those old junkers," Jonathan said, his voice dripping with disdain. "I mean, if you're working in marketing, shouldn't you care about image? How can you represent our clients when you can't even represent yourself properly?" Maria felt her cheeks burn as she realized he was talking about her car. She had parked right next to his BMW that morning, and the contrast between the two vehicles was impossible to miss. Several co-workers glanced in her direction, some looking embarrassed for her, others simply curious about the drama unfolding. Jonathan wasn't finished. He continued his commentary, seemingly unaware or uncaring that Maria was within earshot. "Success is about presentation," he declared. "If you can't invest in yourself, how can clients trust you to invest in their brands? It's basic business psychology." Maria clutched her briefcase tighter and hurried to her desk. She had always been proud of her practical approach to money. While others stretched their budgets for flashy purchases, she saved diligently, planning for a future that extended beyond impressive appearances. Her Honda Civic might not turn heads, but it was reliable, paid off, and allowed her to put money aside for things that truly mattered to her. The office environment became increasingly uncomfortable over the following weeks. Jonathan seemed to take particular pleasure in making subtle comments about professional standards and investing in success. During team meetings, he would emphasize the importance of client perception and corporate image, his eyes often drifting meaningfully toward Maria. Despite the hostile atmosphere, Maria threw herself into her work with renewed determination. She stayed late to perfect client presentations, volunteered for challenging projects that others avoided, and consistently delivered results that exceeded expectations. Her creativity and dedication didn't go unnoticed by clients, even if her supervisor seemed determined to overlook her contributions. One particularly difficult afternoon, after Jonathan had made another pointed comment about stepping up to professional standards, Maria sat in her car during lunch break and seriously considered looking for another job. The constant criticism and subtle humiliation were taking their toll on her confidence and job satisfaction. But as she sat there in her faithful Honda Civic, surrounded by the luxury vehicles of her colleagues, Maria made a different decision. She pulled out her phone and began researching something she had been considering for months, but had never quite found the courage to pursue. Her fingers moved quickly across the screen as she read about requirements, training programs, and success stories. What Jonathan and her other co-workers didn't know was that Maria had a secret passion, something she had been nurturing quietly for years. Every weekend, she would drive to a secluded area outside the city, where she could practice something that had nothing to do with marketing campaigns or client presentations. It was her escape, her joy, and potentially her path to proving that success couldn't be measured by the car someone drove to work. As she finished her research that day, Maria felt a spark of excitement mixed with nervous anticipation. She was about to embark on something that would either validate her critics or prove them spectacularly wrong. Either way, she was tired of letting other people's opinions define her worth. The decision was made. Maria was going to enter her first professional competition, and she was going to do it driving the same Honda Civic that had become the target of so much workplace mockery. She had no idea that this choice would soon change everything about how her colleagues, especially Jonathan, viewed both her and their own assumptions about success. 3 weeks later, Maria stood in the registration line at Riverside Raceway, her heart pounding with excitement and terror. The amateur racing circuit had always fascinated her, but she had never imagined actually participating until Jonathan's constant criticism pushed her to prove something to herself. Around her, other drivers chatted confidently about their modified engines, custom paint jobs, and racing histories that stretched back years. Maria's Honda Civic looked decidedly out of place among the modified sports cars, souped-up muscle cars, and sleek racing machines that filled the paddock area. She had spent her savings not on a fancy car, but on professional racing lessons, safety equipment, and the entry fees for the regional amateur racing series. Her instructor, Carlos, had been impressed with her natural ability and quick learning, but track days with an instructor were very different from actual competition. The other racers were friendly enough, though some couldn't hide their surprise when they learned she planned to race the same car she drove to work every day. "You know this isn't a car show, right?" joked one driver with a heavily modified Mustang. "We actually go fast here." Maria smiled politely, but felt her determination strengthen with each doubtful look. She had spent months preparing for this moment, studying racing techniques, learning about vehicle dynamics, and practicing on every open track day she could afford. Her Honda might not look impressive, but she had fine-tuned it within the amateur class regulations, and more importantly, she knew every inch of how it handled. The tech inspection went smoothly. Her car met all safety requirements, and the officials were impressed with the quality of her preparation. "First time racing?" asked the chief inspector, noting her nervousness. When Maria nodded, he smiled encouragingly. "Well, you've done everything right with the prep work. That's more than we can say for some veterans." That evening, Maria called in sick to work, claiming a family emergency. She couldn't bear the thought of facing Jonathan's mockery if he knew where she really was. Instead, she spent the time walking the track, memorizing every turn, every elevation change, and every potential passing zone. Other drivers were doing the same, and she found herself in conversations about racing lines, braking points, and tire strategies. The next morning brought qualifying sessions. Maria's hands trembled as she pulled on her racing suit and helmet. The transformation was remarkable. Gone was the quiet marketing coordinator who endured daily criticism about her car. In her place was a focused competitor who had spent months preparing for this moment. Her first qualifying lap was tentative, getting a feel for racing with other cars on track simultaneously. But as she completed each circuit, her confidence grew. The Honda Civic might not have the raw power of some competitors, but it was nimble, predictable, and Maria had learned to maximize every advantage it offered. When qualifying ended, Maria was stunned to learn she had secured 8th position out of 23 cars in her amateur class. Several experienced racers came over to congratulate her, genuinely impressed with her performance. "That little Honda was flying through the technical sections," commented one veteran driver. "You've got some serious skill there." The main race was scheduled for the following weekend, giving Maria a full week to process what had just happened. She had not only survived her first racing experience, but had actually performed well enough to start in a competitive position. The confidence boost was exactly what she needed, especially knowing she would have to return to work and face Jonathan's continued criticism. Back at the office, Maria found it almost amusing how different her two worlds were. During the day, she endured snide comments about her unprofessional vehicle and listened to Jonathan boast about his BMW's performance capabilities that he would never actually test. In the evenings and weekends, she was part of a community that judged her only by her skill, determination, and sportsmanship. Her coworkers had no idea that the quiet woman they saw every day had just outqualified drivers with decades of experience and cars worth 3 times what she had paid for her Honda. The secret felt powerful, like she was living a double life where her true capabilities could finally shine. As the week progressed, Maria found herself walking taller and speaking with more confidence even in the office environment. Jonathan's comments still stung, but they no longer felt devastating. She had proof now that success came in many forms, and that assumptions based on appearances were often spectacularly wrong. The upcoming race weekend couldn't come fast enough. Maria had tasted competition and discovered something about herself that no workplace criticism could diminish. She was a racer and she was good at it. Race day arrived with perfect weather conditions and Maria's nerves stretched tight with anticipation. She had barely slept the night before, running through racing scenarios in her mind and visualizing every turn of the track. The morning practice session had gone well, confirming that her Honda Civic was handling beautifully and her confidence was building with every lap. In the paddock area, Maria went through her pre-race routine with methodical precision. She checked tire pressures, confirmed all safety equipment was properly secured, and reviewed her racing notes one final time. Other competitors were doing the same, but the atmosphere was notably different from her first weekend. Several drivers now nodded respectfully when they passed her car, having witnessed her qualifying performance. The amateur class race was scheduled for 30 minutes, which would translate to roughly 25 laps, depending on caution periods. Maria's 8th place starting position put her in the middle of the field, with experienced racers both ahead and behind her. As she climbed into the driver's seat and began the process of strapping in, she felt the familiar transformation from office worker to competitor. The pace car led the field around for 2 warm-up laps, giving Maria time to get her tires up to temperature and settle into the racing mindset. She could see the leaders ahead, their more powerful cars looking impressive as they weaved back and forth to generate tire heat. Behind her, she caught glimpses of other Honda Civics, a few Mazda Miatas, and several older BMW models that made up the competitive amateur field. When the green flag dropped, the race began with the controlled chaos that Maria had learned to expect. The first few corners saw the field bunch up as drivers fought for position, with several cars going 3 wide into turn 2. Maria held her position expertly, having learned during practice sessions that patience in the opening laps often rewarded drivers who avoided early incidents. By lap 5, Maria had settled into a rhythm and was beginning to make her move forward. She passed 2 cars that had been battling each other so intensely they failed to notice her approaching on the inside. Her Honda Civic's smaller size and nimble handling allowed her to take advantage of gaps that larger cars couldn't exploit. The race developed into several distinct battles throughout the field. Maria found herself in an intense fight with 3 other cars for positions 4 through 7. The group would trade positions multiple times per lap, with different cars having advantages in different sections of the track. Maria's Honda excelled in the technical middle section, while the more powerful cars could pull away on the long straightaways. Halfway through the race, a caution period bunched up the field after 2 cars tangled in turn 6. This gave Maria an opportunity to reset and analyze her position. She was running 6th, having gained 2 positions through consistent driving and smart strategy. More importantly, she was learning valuable lessons about racecraft, patience, and when to be aggressive versus when to wait for opportunities. The restart with 10 minutes remaining brought renewed intensity to the race. Maria made an excellent restart, jumping to 5th place as 2 cars ahead of her got sideways fighting for position. She now found herself in a 3-car battle for the final podium position, something she had never dared to dream possible during her first race weekend. The closing laps were some of the most intense driving Maria had ever experienced. She was wheel to wheel with a modified Mazda Miata and a turbocharged Honda CRX. 3 cars separated by less than a second as they fought for 3rd place. Each corner became a chess match, with drivers looking for advantages and defending their positions with determination. With 3 laps remaining, Maria saw her opportunity. The CRX and Miata were so focused on battling each other that they compromised their exit speed from turn 8. Maria had been patient, holding back slightly, and she used their mistake to dive to the inside of both cars entering the back straight. It was the most aggressive move she had ever attempted in racing, and it worked perfectly. Suddenly, Maria found herself in 3rd place, with only 2 laps to go. The leaders were too far ahead to catch, but she had a comfortable margin over the cars behind her as long as she could maintain her pace and avoid mistakes. Her hands gripped the steering wheel tighter as she realized she was about to achieve something extraordinary in her very first race. The checkered flag fell with Maria crossing the finish line in third place, earning her first ever podium finish in amateur racing. As she slowed down and began her cool-down lap, the reality of what had just happened began to sink in. She had not only competed successfully, but had actually beaten drivers with years more experience and significantly more expensive cars. The podium ceremony felt surreal. Standing on the third-place step, holding a trophy and having her picture taken, Maria felt a sense of accomplishment that no workplace achievement had ever provided. This was something she had earned entirely through her own merit, skill, and determination. Monday morning arrived with Maria carrying herself differently through the office corridors. The bronze trophy from her third-place finish sat proudly on her bedroom dresser, but the real change was internal. She had proven to herself that excellence wasn't about having the most expensive equipment or looking the part. It was about skill, preparation, and heart. Jonathan was already holding court near the reception area when Maria walked in, regaling a small group with stories about his weekend golf game at an exclusive country club. He glanced at Maria with his usual dismissive expression, his eyes automatically shifting toward the parking lot where her Honda Civic sat among the luxury vehicles. Some people just don't understand that success requires investment. Jonathan continued his familiar refrain, though his voice seemed to carry less authority to Maria now. She had spent her weekend competing against and defeating people who understood what real performance meant, making Jonathan's shallow definitions of success seem almost comical. Maria settled into her workspace and began reviewing client files with renewed focus. Her racing success had given her confidence that spilled over into her professional work, and she found herself approaching projects with a boldness that hadn't been there before. When a particularly challenging client presentation came across her desk, instead of feeling intimidated, she saw it as another opportunity to prove her capabilities. During the morning team meeting, Jonathan announced a new account, a luxury automotive client looking for a marketing agency that understood performance and prestige. "This is exactly the kind of account that could define our careers," he announced dramatically. "We need team members who truly understand what luxury performance means." Maria almost smiled at the irony. She now had more genuine performance experience than anyone in the room, but none of them knew it. The racing community had taught her things about performance, precision, and competitive excellence that no marketing textbook could convey. As the week progressed, Maria threw herself into researching the automotive client. Her recent racing experience gave her insights into what real car enthusiasts valued. Not just flashy appearances, but engineering excellence, reliability under pressure, and genuine capability. She began developing presentation concepts that went beyond surface-level luxury messaging to focus on authentic performance credentials. Jonathan, meanwhile, was developing his own presentation approach based on what he considered sophisticated automotive knowledge, expensive features, premium materials, and status symbolism. During team discussions, he would pontificate about the psychology of luxury automotive buyers, while making assumptions that Maria now knew were completely wrong. The contrast between their approaches became evident during preparation meetings. Jonathan's concepts focused heavily on appearance and social status, while Maria's ideas emphasized performance heritage, engineering innovation, and the authentic experiences that connected drivers to their vehicles. Her racing background had taught her that true automotive enthusiasm was about capability, not just cost. Several colleagues began to notice the difference in Maria's work quality and confidence level. Sarah, a senior account manager, commented privately that Maria seemed to have found her voice and was producing some of the most insightful client strategies the team had seen. Even people who had previously overlooked Maria's contributions were starting to pay attention. The client presentation was scheduled for the following Friday, giving both Jonathan and Maria time to refine their approaches. Jonathan was supremely confident, assuming his BMW ownership and country club connections gave him superior understanding of the luxury market. He had no idea that Maria had spent recent weekends in an environment where automotive performance was tested under the most demanding conditions possible. Maria worked carefully on her presentation, drawing from her racing experience to create concepts that spoke to genuine automotive passion rather than superficial status concerns. She included insights about the emotional connection between drivers and their vehicles, the importance of reliability and capability, and how true automotive excellence was proven through performance rather than proclaimed through marketing. The weekend brought another race at Riverside Raceway, where Maria was now recognized as a legitimate competitor rather than a curious newcomer. Her Honda Civic had earned respect throughout the paddock, and other drivers sought her input on racing lines and strategy discussions. The transformation from office outcast to respected racer felt like living in two completely different worlds. This race didn't go as perfectly as her podium debut. A mechanical issue during qualifying left her starting from 15th position, and the race itself was a grinding battle to move forward through heavy traffic. She finished 7th, which was still a strong result given her starting position, but more importantly, she had learned valuable lessons about adapting to setbacks and maintaining focus under pressure. The racing experience was teaching Maria skills that proved valuable in every aspect of her life. The ability to make split-second decisions, maintain composure under pressure, and analyze complex situations quickly were all translating into improved performance at work. She was becoming a more effective communicator, a better problem solver, and a more confident professional. As Maria prepared for the crucial client presentation that could reshape her career trajectory, she realized that her secret racing life had given her something invaluable: authentic confidence based on real achievement. She no longer needed to pretend or posture for respect. She had earned it on the track, and that foundation of genuine accomplishment was something no amount of workplace politics could undermine. The client presentation day arrived with heightened tension throughout the office. Prestigious Motors, a luxury automotive dealership group, represented exactly the kind of high-profile account that could accelerate careers and establish reputations. Jonathan had been preparing for weeks, confident that his lifestyle and vehicle choice made him the obvious choice to lead the account. Maria arrived early that morning, her Honda Civic taking its usual spot in the parking lot. Several co-workers were already gathered around Jonathan's BMW, listening to him explain various performance features that he had memorized from brochures but never actually experienced. Maria listened quietly, amused by how theoretical his automotive knowledge really was compared to what she had learned through actual high-performance driving. The prestigious Motors executives arrived promptly at 10 o'clock. Richard Chen, the Yao regional director, was accompanied by Jennifer Walsh, their marketing vice president, and Marcus Thompson, a former professional race car driver who now handled their performance vehicle marketing. Maria felt a flicker of excitement when she learned about Marcus's background. Finally, someone who would understand authentic performance credentials. Jonathan's presentation went first, delivered with his characteristic confidence and polish. He spoke eloquently about luxury positioning, premium brand messaging, and the psychology of affluent automotive buyers. His slides were beautifully designed, featuring expensive vehicles in sophisticated settings, emphasizing exclusivity and social status. Our approach recognizes that luxury automotive buyers are purchasing more than transportation, Jonathan explained smoothly. They're investing in lifestyle, prestige, and social positioning. Our campaigns would focus on the aspirational aspects of vehicle ownership, connecting your inventory to success and sophisticated living. The clients listened politely, taking notes and asking occasional questions about campaign reach and demographic targeting. Jonathan answered confidently, clearly comfortable with the traditional marketing approach he was presenting. When he finished, there was polite applause and positive comments about the professional quality of his presentation. Then it was Maria's turn. She had decided to take a completely different approach, one that drew directly from her racing experience and genuine understanding of automotive performance. Her opening slide featured not a glamorous showroom photo, but an image of cars on a racing circuit. Real automotive excellence isn't about looking fast, Maria began, her voice steady despite her racing heart. It's about being fast, being reliable, and performing when it matters most. Your customers aren't just buying cars, they're buying capability, engineering excellence, and the confidence that comes from owning something genuinely superior. Marcus Thompson straightened in his chair, immediately interested in this different perspective. Maria continued, explaining how authentic performance credentials could be leveraged in marketing messages that would resonate with knowledgeable automotive enthusiasts rather than just status-conscious buyers. The luxury automotive market includes serious driving enthusiasts who can distinguish between marketing promises and genuine capability, Maria explained. Our campaigns would emphasize proven performance, engineering innovation, and the authentic experiences that connect passionate drivers to exceptional vehicles. She presented case studies showing how performance-focused messaging had succeeded with other luxury brands, and outlined specific strategies for reaching both traditional luxury buyers and serious automotive enthusiasts. Her insights into the enthusiast community were detailed and accurate, drawing surprised looks from the clients who clearly hadn't expected this level of specialized knowledge. Marcus asked several technical questions about performance marketing and enthusiast community engagement. Maria answered each one confidently, demonstrating understanding that went far beyond typical marketing knowledge. At one point, Marcus commented, "You seem to really understand the racing and track day community. Do you have personal experience with high-performance driving?" Maria hesitated for just a moment, then decided honesty was the best approach. "Actually, yes, I compete in amateur racing on weekends. It's given me insights into what real automotive enthusiasts value and how they make purchasing decisions." Indicator. Room fell silent. Jonathan's face showed complete shock, unable to process how his supposedly unsuccessful colleague could have such an impressive hidden talent. The clients, however, were fascinated and began asking detailed questions about Maria's racing experience and how it informed her marketing perspectives. Jennifer Walsh was particularly interested in Maria's insights about the amateur racing community as a target market for performance vehicle sales. "We've been trying to reach that demographic for years," she admitted. "Traditional luxury marketing doesn't seem to resonate with serious driving enthusiasts." Maria explained how the racing community valued proven capability over expensive features, how they researched purchases extensively, and how word-of-mouth recommendations from respected drivers carried more weight than traditional advertising. Her presentation evolved into an engaging discussion about authentic performance marketing that clearly excited the potential clients. When the presentations concluded, the prestigious Motors team requested a brief recess to discuss what they had heard. As they stepped into the conference room, Maria could hear fragments of their animated conversation. Words like authentic, genuine expertise, and perfect fit drifted through the partially open door. Jonathan stood in the hallway, looking stunned, trying to process how completely the dynamic had shifted. His colleagues were staring at Maria with new respect, suddenly seeing her in an entirely different light. The quiet marketing coordinator who drove an old Honda had just demonstrated expertise that none of them possessed. 20 minutes later, the clients returned with their decision. Richard Chen addressed both presenters, praising the quality of both presentations before delivering his verdict. "We've decided to move forward with Maria's approach. Her authentic understanding of performance automotive culture is exactly what we need to reach our target market effectively." The room erupted in congratulations for Maria, while Jonathan stood frozen in disbelief. His assumptions about success, image, and capability had just been completely demolished by someone he had consistently underestimated. The weeks following Maria's presentation victory brought dramatic changes to the office dynamics. News of her racing achievements and major client wins spread quickly throughout the company, transforming her from the quiet woman with the old car into someone colleagues approached with genuine respect and curiosity. The prestigious Motors account was already generating impressive results, with Maria's performance-focused marketing campaigns exceeding initial projections by 30%. Jonathan's reaction to these developments was a mixture of embarrassment, resentment, and grudging acknowledgement that he had severely misjudged his colleague. His previous comments about professional image and success indicators now seemed shallow and ignorant in light of Maria's genuine achievements. Several coworkers who had previously joined his criticism of Maria's car were now asking her detailed questions about racing and performance driving. The most significant change came from upper management. Sarah Mitchell, the agency's senior partner, called Maria into her office for a private conversation that would reshape her career trajectory. "We've been watching your work on the prestigious Motors account," Sarah began, and frankly, we're impressed by capabilities we didn't know you possessed. Your racing background has given you insights into performance marketing that could be valuable across multiple automotive clients. Maria was offered a promotion to senior account manager with immediate effect, along with leadership of the agency's new performance marketing division. The salary increase was substantial, but more importantly, she would finally have the recognition and resources to pursue the kind of innovative marketing strategies she was passionate about. The promotion announcement was made during the monthly company meeting, with Sarah publicly praising Maria's unique combination of marketing expertise and authentic performance experience. The applause was genuine and enthusiastic, a stark contrast to the indifference that had previously greeted Maria's contributions during office gatherings. Jonathan's public reaction was professional congratulations, but his private struggle with the situation was evident to anyone paying attention. His entire worldview about success, image, and professional advancement had been challenged by someone he had consistently dismissed. The expensive car he had been so proud of now seemed like an empty gesture compared to Maria's actual accomplishments. On the racing circuit, the racing community welcomed news of Maria's professional success with characteristic enthusiasm. Her fellow competitors were excited to have someone in the marketing industry who truly understood their passion and could represent automotive performance authentically. Several racing colleagues mentioned they had noticed positive changes in how performance vehicles were being advertised lately, crediting Maria's influence in the industry. Maria's third-place trophy still sat on her bedroom dresser, but it had been joined by several other racing awards as her skills continued to develop. More importantly, her confidence had evolved from the defensive posture she once maintained in the office to the quiet assurance that came from knowing her worth was based on real achievements rather than external validation. The Honda Civic that had been the target of so much workplace mockery became something of a legend around the office. New employees were told the story of how the unassuming car had been driven to multiple racing podium finishes by their respected senior account manager. Instead of being ashamed of her practical vehicle choice, Maria now took pride in demonstrating that capability mattered more than appearance. 6 months after that first devastating comment from Jonathan about her car, Maria found herself presenting marketing strategies to automotive executives from around the region. Her reputation for understanding both performance vehicles and enthusiast communities had made her a sought-after consultant whose insights were valued by luxury dealerships, performance parts manufacturers, and racing organizations. The transformation in Jonathan's behavior was gradual but noticeable. He stopped making comments about cars and began asking Maria's opinions on client strategies. During one team meeting, he actually deferred to her expertise on an automotive account, acknowledging that her racing experience gave her superior insights into the target market. The dynamic between them had completely reversed, with Jonathan now seeking approval from someone he had once dismissed. Maria's success story spread beyond their agency, becoming an inspiring example of how authentic passion and genuine expertise could overcome workplace prejudice and shallow assumptions about success. She was invited to speak at marketing conferences about performance automotive marketing, sharing insights that bridged the gap between corporate strategy and enthusiast community values. Looking back on that difficult period when her car had been a source of embarrassment and criticism, Maria realized it had actually been the catalyst for discovering her true potential. Jonathan's mockery had pushed her to prove herself in ways she might never have attempted otherwise, leading to achievements that surpassed anything she could have imagined while enduring those painful coffee machine conversations. The old Honda Civic continued to serve faithfully, carrying Maria to both business meetings and racing circuits with equal reliability. It had become a symbol of her journey from workplace outcast to respected professional, proof that real success was measured not by impressive appearances, but by genuine accomplishment, authentic expertise, and the courage to pursue excellence, regardless of what others might think. Her third-place finish had indeed changed everything, but not in ways that anyone, including Maria herself, could have predicted. It had revealed capabilities she didn't know she possessed, opened career opportunities she hadn't imagined possible, and taught her that the most powerful response to criticism was not argument or explanation, but simply excelling at something that mattered.